Hey guys, it's been a while since you've just been sitting here. Been a couple videos, I think. But today I wanted to do the chronic illness tag.
And on we'll go.
So, I've seen a couple people around doing this type of video and I kind of wanted to join in just because I have a chronic illness. I wanted to do this tag just because I thought it'd be kind of interesting. So let's get into it. There are 11 questions, so I'm going to go through all 11 of them and hopefully you guys will learn a little bit more about my chronic illness from those questions. Question number 1 is, what are you diagnosed with? So I currently have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the hypermobile type, and then I also have mast cell activation syndrome and gastroparesis. So those are the 3 things that are kind of the big deal in my life. Just those 3 are kind of like the bigger deals. So I also have problems with my eyes. I'm nearsighted in one eye and farsighted in the other. I also have some psychiatric illnesses, but that's not really what this tag's about, so I'm not going to really talk about those too much here. I have bilateral plantar fasciitis. I have different allergies related to my mast cell activation. I have migraines. I have hypoglycemia. I have scoliosis, fibromyalgia, and neurocardiogenic syncope, which is also called vasovagal syncope. So those are the things that I am diagnosed with that are like physical. Everything else that I have basically is psychiatric. Number 2 is, what do you tend to do at night when you can't sleep? When I can't sleep, a lot of the time it's due to like joint pain. So I will use Tiger Balm, which is one of my favorite ways to reduce joint pain. I use that to help me with like the joint pain so that I can hopefully sleep. If it isn't joint pain related, then I will get up and usually I will edit videos while laying in bed. I'll scroll through TikTok. I have a Switch that I play. So some of those things. Number 3 is, what's the worst side effect you've had from a medication? I'd say I took baclofen very recently and it caused me to have seizures, so that did not really go very well. Baclofen is a medication used for joint pain and it's also used to help you sleep. So it was supposed to get rid of those 2 problems, which were some of my biggest problems, and it helped me a lot with, like, I was really drowsy, but then I would wake up and then have these like intense, like what I thought were just like tremors, but then they were like, no, those were seizures, and I was like, oh my god. So not great. That was a pretty bad side effect in my eyes. I've also been allergic to medications before, but definitely not as bad as that reaction. Number 4 is, how has your condition affected your mental health? I would say that it has made my depression worse. You know, because sometimes I feel worthless or I feel like I can't do certain things that other people my age can do, and like that just makes me feel bad. But at the same time, I feel like having a diagnosis for my condition has helped my mental health because it's made me feel more validated and better about myself. So it's kind of a back and forth. I know a lot of people whose physical health is very closely tied into their mental health. I'm not one of those people. I don't think that for me, they're connected, but they're not that connected, if that makes sense. My physical health and my mental health are not as closely tied in for me as much as they are for some other people, maybe. Number 5 says, describe your social life. So, my social life used to be a lot worse. I think it's gotten a lot better recently. Definitely not normal for people my age, but maybe normal for people with my like mental health status. So I have one best friend. I've got Michaela. She has a service dog too. She also has a chronic illness. And then she and I are both in college. I'm almost 21. And then I have my boyfriend. And that's kind of my social life. Michaela and I go out together quite often. We do go out shopping, and we go and train our dogs. We meet up together at each other's houses and do things. We do projects like sewing. We help each other with different things that are school related or health related, like with doctors, that kind of stuff. We go to each other's doctor's appointments sometimes. So I guess that's kind of abnormal. My boyfriend comes to a lot of my doctor's appointments, and he and I spend a lot of time doing things together. Otherwise, we are a long distance couple, so we aren't together all the time. But the time that we are together, we do things like go to the zoo, or go walk through Old Brick Gardens, or we go to the Dells, or, you know, that kind of stuff. And then we do spend a lot of time together, just like, you know, at home, watching shows, playing games together, that kind of stuff. So that's my social life. I do have a lot of, like, I'd say acquaintances, or like, you know, not necessarily close, but friends online that I see like through Instagram and stuff like that. So I'd say that that's definitely part of my life as well. Number 6, what's the hardest thing to do when you're flaring? So what my flares look like, I have my ankles and knees are definitely a lot weaker. My wrists are in a lot of pain. I do a lot of popping, and it's difficult for me to stand and stuff like that because of the blood pooling problems. So I'd say the hardest thing for me to do when I'm flaring is walking long distances or walking for long periods of time. Even shorter periods of time are really difficult when I'm in a flare, just because I'm having those blood pooling problems as well as my ankles and knees being weak. So as well as feeling really dizzy and feeling, you know, very lightheaded and stuff like that, and feeling like I'm going to pass out, I'm also having the problem of my ankles and my knees being weak. So it's like you don't have that good of a, you're not very stable, and then you're also dizzy. So it's just, it's not good. So that's why when I'm flaring, I do have a four-wheeled walker, a rollator, that has a seat on it. And then for worse days, I am getting a custom-built wheelchair. So those are my two like big helps when I'm having a flare day. Number 7, do you have worries about the future? Yes. That's kind of a difficult question. The thing is EDS is not necessarily progressive in the sense that like it gets like obviously worse, but as you get older already, just naturally, your joints do get weaker. So along with the weakness of EDS joints, I will also have the fact that my joints will be getting weaker because I'll be getting older. So it's progressive in that sense, and then also the blood pooling and the hydration stuff will get worse as I get older as well. So I have worries about the future, about being able to train another service dog as good as Arlo. I have worries about being able to be a good parent if I want to have kids, which I do. I would like to have children in the future, so I worry about that a lot. I worry about if my kids are going to have this condition. Charlie and I do plan on adopting a child. Basically, that child we know will not have it, probably not have it because it is a rare condition, but we do worry that the child that I plan on giving birth to will have any of my conditions. So that is a worry for me as well. And then also being able to care for that child, like having the ability to care for the child, is something that I do worry about a lot, because I can't run, you know, I can't run after my kid if they're running into the street. I can't climb up the monkey bars to play with my child. I can't do that very easily. Those sorts of things are things that worry me, as well as things like my job. So I am currently a double major in English education at the secondary level, so high school English teacher, and I also am majoring in social work. So I'd like to be a clinical social worker. I'm not necessarily worried about being a clinical social worker. I think that that's a really good career for me. I think that you know, I think that that will be a good career. However, being an English teacher, though it is something I'm really passionate about and would really like to do, in order to be taken seriously, I do fear that I need to be standing and I need to be you know, able to be standing for long periods of time, walking around and doing that kind of stuff. So I do fear a little bit about that. So those are kind of my worries for the future. Number 8 is, what is your favorite comfort food? So I used to be able to say McDonald's, but now I've had it a lot recently and it isn't really my favorite comfort food anymore because it isn't really like comforting. It's just kind of normal for me now. I would say that my favorite comfort food now is probably Five Guys. So Five Guys is a burgers and fries place. I love just a little hamburger, nothing on it but ketchup, and some fries. Charlie and I usually split a large fry, and then we're like really enormously full afterwards. It's definitely worth it. And then I get some malt vinegar to dip my fries in. So that's probably my favorite comfort food right now. Along with, I do like freeze-dried strawberries. Those make me feel better all the time. And then Bunny Tracks ice cream. Number 9 is, tell a valuable lesson you've learned from being ill. This was before I was diagnosed with EDS. This was more about the psychiatric conditions, but I think that this is probably the most valuable lesson I've learned, and I want to talk about it. I was in college, and I had I'm gonna, trigger warning, mental health topics, suicide attempt, that kind of stuff. I had a suicide attempt when I was in college, my first semester of freshman year. And when my mom came to get me from college, because after you have a suicide attempt on the campus, you have to go to the counseling services and you're not allowed to leave until an adult, like one of your guardians, comes to get you. So my mom had to come and get me. So she came and was talking with the counselor because we had to come up with a safety plan before I left. Basically, what had come up with was, this is before I got an Arlo, they had said, well, I think she needs a service dog on campus. And my doctor agreed, and the counselor that was there agreed, and my mom agreed. And the counselor was like, well, why hadn't you agreed in the past, just kind of out of curiosity? And my mom had said, well, I think that people know what they need. And at this point, if this is what she needs, then that's what we're gonna have to do. I think that people know what they need. I think with chronic illness, a lot of that, at least for me, has been true. People know what they need. People know that they need certain things at certain times. I knew that I needed to be seen by a rheumatologist to get diagnosed with EDS. I knew that I had to get diagnosed in order to start feeling better, in order to start the treatment that I needed. So things like that have followed me forever. The wheelchair thing, also, the fact that I feel like I do need a wheelchair, and then finding out that I do benefit from one, that kind of thing as well. So that's kind of one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned, is that people really do know when something is wrong and when they need something. They might not know exactly what they need, but they know when they need something, if that makes sense. Number 10 is, name 3 things that you miss that were taken from you because you got sick. It's really hard for me to name these things because I've had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome my whole life. It hasn't been diagnosed, but I've had it my whole life. And I've struggled with the joint pain and the blood pooling problems my whole life. So things weren't necessarily taken from me. That's just kind of how my life was. So there's 3 things that, I bet I could name 3 things that like I can't do anymore. I am no longer able to do dance or gymnastics the way that I used to be able to, just because it would cause problems with joint pain and that kind of thing, and blood pooling issues. So I can't do dance anymore. I used to really love to do dance, but that's no longer an option for me. Another thing is, my boyfriend and I really, really love Wisconsin Dells. We like to go to Wisconsin Dells every year for our birthday, and we do mini golfing and Wizard Quest and that kind of stuff. And I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, he and I went and we were doing mini golfing, and I could not make it. I couldn't keep walking anymore. I was getting really, really dizzy. And this was before I got diagnosed, so I had no idea why. I was just really dizzy and was having so many problems getting around. It was really difficult. Not fun. Not a fun time. So I think that's another thing that's been taken from me, is just kind of my freedom in general, because I can't, just like walk around without a mobility aid all the time, or walk long distances without help or without taking a break. So that kind of sucks. And I think the third thing I would say is I can't really go somewhere without taking my service dog. So like really my freedom in general. Because if I don't take him, then I miss alerts. If I don't take him, I miss blood pressure alerts, I miss heart rate alerts, I miss psychiatric alerts. I can miss anything. It'll become a problem. So I have to bring him. And I mean, I love Arlo, I love taking him with me, and he is one of the best things that has ever happened to me. But I don't want to have a service dog. I don't want to have a service dog. I'd so much rather not have my condition. So it does kind of suck that I can't just like hop into a car with a friend and just go shopping like on a whim. You know, I have to plan. I have to bring Arlo to get him geared up. It's kind of like taking a toddler with you everywhere. Or I have to bring my cane, I have to bring my rollator, I have to bring my wheelchair, gotta bring something, you know. And number 11, the last question is, how old were you when you had your first symptoms? I don't know. I was too young to remember, but if I check back in my MyChart records, like my pediatric records, it shows that I started mentioning joint problems when I was like I started talking about it when I was like 8 or 9. And I have terrible memory, so no, I don't really remember when they actually started. I don't remember if this is the first time that they were happening, but I did start talking about how my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, and I had a dislocation episode when I was 9. I had a big dislocation of my shoulder, and I had to go to the ER, and that was one of the first times that I'd ever dislocated something. So, that's around the time that I first started experiencing the really serious symptoms. So that was the chronic illness tag. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you would like to join in and do the chronic illness tag with us, make sure that you look down below. I'll put the questions down in the description. You can do it for yourself, and why don't you put the link for your video down in the comments. I'll be sure to approve them so they don't get like marked as spam or whatever. And I'll go watch your video, and maybe we can be friends. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in whatever we make next. Bye!